There's a second personnel issue that Mr. Hausman gave me a motion here. Do you want to make this motion, Mr. Hausman?
I'd like to at this time. The purpose is to rescind section 14.14 of Article 14 of the Goshen Township Personnel Procedures Manual. By the powers hereby given to trustees in accordance with section 1.16 notice in the Goshen Township Personnel and Procedures Manual and in the best interest of Goshen Township, and while respecting the time-honored traditions of passing learned skills and experiences from generations to generations, I hereby make a motion to remove section 14.14 of Article 14, appointment of relatives, in its entirety from the Goshen Township Personnel and Procedures Manual, effective 1/12/2010.
Do you have a motion?
I'd like to second that
We
motion.
have a motion and a second. I'd like to make comment related to this motion. I had talked to Steve Pegram about this and to Chief Snyder about this. Mr. Pegram, or Chief Pegram, could you give us your thoughts on rescinding this part of the manual?
I have mixed feelings, but the best way to summarize it for you is there are a lot of organizations that I know that have this rule, and there's a lot that do not. In the fire service, I can speak for is traditionally a family tradition, many generations, you know, fathers, sons, sons, daughters, that sort of thing in the fire department. And we currently have a policy that doesn't allow certain individuals that are relatives of our current employees in the fire department that are Goshen Township residents and are ready, willing, and able to join our organization. So this would allow them to join. The second side of the story or the problem that I expressed to you the other day, you advised me that I should just handle that internally within the fire department, but just for mention here tonight is I do not like, and many fire chiefs have policies against people that are related working on the same shift or the same crew together for a variety of reasons. One, that you may bring personal family life into the station or into the workplace, and we've had some problems with that in the past in our department. But also, more importantly, I think, you know, God forbid we have a tragic event involving our fire and EMS personnel, I wouldn't want a father and son on the same crew and have to report that, you know, a mother has lost a son and lost her husband or something, a situation like that. In the discussions I had with Mr. Kuntz, he said that, you know, that would be my prerogative to have a policy about shift scheduling and relatives on the department, but this change in the township policy would allow us to hire individuals that are related, and I support that.
Very good. Chief Snyder, we had a discussion yesterday about this. You had some, I'd like you to share the opinions with the other two members of the board that you shared with me, please.
Well, as I expressed to you yesterday, I'm opposed to removing that article from the policy manual for a number of reasons. And as I expressed to you yesterday, I don't know who said it, but if you don't pay attention to history, you're bound or doomed to repeat yourself.
Churchill.
I'm sorry?
Winston Churchill.
There you go. Probably the first and foremost reason why you find that in your manual, that manual was crafted after a document of which represents model policy designed by the Center for Public Management and Regional Affairs at the Miami University of Ohio. That effort was undertaken with the endorsement of the Ohio Township Association. The end product was endorsed by the Ohio Township Association. They said that's an appropriate policy to have in place in a township in Ohio. With regard to history, I can recall many cases where having family on your payroll gummed things up. At one point, we had a police officer that married a township trustee who couldn't be consulted, she couldn't give an opinion, she couldn't vote on anything from discipline to buying a police car. Really gummed things up for a while. We got through it, but gummed it up. I remember a time when a fiscal officer who was serving her term here, the board of trustees at that time chose to employ her granddaughter as a township secretary. And the fiscal officer in question, Sandy Graham, at the time, really got beat up, as well as the board of trustees, with regard to nepotism, and there were even allegations that she, according to the Ohio Ethics Commission, done something unlawful fact of the matter is, she didn't do anything unlawful. The Board of Trustees didn't do anything unlawful because they hadn't hired a family member of their own. But in the public's eyes, the board acted on Mrs. Graham's behalf. And she and the board got beat up on about that for years. Just didn't taste right. They didn't like the perception of it. Example number 3. After, I believe it was prior to Sarah Graham's appointment, we employed, or a previous board employed, a woman who was married to my second in command at the police department. Didn't work out. As disciplinary procedures were commenced by me against her, it caused a rift between me and my second in command. She ended up having to be terminated. And my second in command and my relationship with, who at the time was a very good friend of mine, professionally and personally, that all went down the drain. It was a very uncomfortable year working my way through that. And finally, my last example, and I'll shut up, is that just this year, 2009, you've got a brother-sister employees in the fire department who have restraining orders issued. They can't be in the building at the same time. They can't go to an emergency scene at the same time. They can't help anyone, and if at the same time on the job, and if they do, it's a violation of the law. So my experience with family working here has not, by and large, not been good. And that's the basis of my objection.
Very good.
Thank you.
We'll have community forum later. Any other questions or comments from trustees? First of all, it's okay that we disagree on things, gentlemen.
Sure.
And that's what this is all about, and that's why I had you speak in the public forum to express both of your opinions. Gentlemen, do you have any other comments?
Well, should the fire department decide to reenact or reestablish a volunteer program, I, as a former fireman, also realize that that's a tradition within the fire department. So I would be in favor of it based on that. You're going to enhance your junior cadet program because they've got something to look forward to, possibly a cadet's brother or father is a volunteer or even a paid fireman. Well, the way it stands now, that cadet can't get into the fire department because he has another member of the family. And so I think that's my strongest point of it. And then I also look at the number of people that we have in Goshen with the jobs the way they are. And if we have an open position that somebody in Goshen is qualified for, but they can't apply for it because they already have a family member working for Goshen. So that's the two things that come to my mind.
Thank you, Bobby.
I concur, Ray. I appreciate the insight, and it's very informative. And but in making the motion, I also have to remember that I was elected to serve the people of Goshen Township, and that means all the people of Goshen Township. And there's a lot of families and friends in Goshen Township. And like Ray just said, if a job becomes available, I would like every opportunity given to the local residents to have that job that's so qualified. And I feel that that would be very detrimental to that process at this time. And however, if there becomes an issue, you know, with the grace of God and the people in this room, I'm going to be here for 4 years, and I would be able to be willing to revisit it if it becomes an issue down the road.
Thank you. Appreciate your consideration.
Very good. We have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion from the board members? Lisa, call the question, please.
Jack Kent,
Yes.
Bob Hauserman.